Good morning.
Good
Namaste.
morning. Namaste.
I'm Manga. Manga Anantatmula. I'm the American Hindu Coalition co-director for Women's Political Wing. Um, we are really very hopeful that you win, you come to power.
I love women in leadership. Strong women in leadership.
Yes, that's absolutely that's our philosophy, and that's our hope. We want a woman to be in the office so that somebody understands the importance of women being in the leadership positions and roles. And as you know, American Hindu women are are very educated, are very diversified in several areas of expertise. You have doctors, you have lawyers, we have technology people, name it, and we are in every arena that we have established ourselves as good citizens, and we have never been in trouble. We are very peace-loving people. So we have some questions from women.
Well, and may I just say that is why I am here. And you honor me by allowing me to come this morning. And throughout our campaign, my campaign for Lieutenant Governor, I have made an effort to reach out to the community, because this community, among all the communities, is by far the most engaged and the most engageable. And it is a community, as you say, of people who are perfect citizens, and they are changing Virginia in terms of investing in our economy, in terms of being incredibly successful physicians and people in the technology industry, amazing entrepreneurs and women in leadership. And you know, all of the conversations that we have are about how the women really are in the family, incredible leaders. And their decisions about what the family will do in politics, by the way.
Yes.
And the candidates they will support makes a difference.
Oh, thank you.
So that's why I'm so honored that there are women who will pay attention to my campaign, because then they will encourage other people in their family to support a woman. So thank you, first of all, before you get to your question.
I mean, how a woman can actually contribute to a great leadership. I think American Hindu women are very talented in doing that, because they wear different caps. As a professional, as a mother, as a wife, as a daughter-in-law, as a daughter, we try to blend in perfectly with every role. So I'm thinking we will be the best option if you come to power and acknowledge our Hindu women as a good leadership material and encourage us to.
Dr. Khanna.
Good morning, Dr. Khanna. Good morning.
And give us an opportunity
together.
Yes.
And that's the way I view it.
We want to be together.
The same community.
We want to be together with you. And in your administration, we have some few questions from the women folks. The first question is, women, how do you support women as health commissioners for healthcare reform?
So I am
especially who are the practitioners and who are women who understand the healthcare system and the downs and pros and cons of the healthcare system, the difficulty we have today.
So I have been so eager, as we've had the discussion about healthcare and healthcare reform, to have women involved at every level, in every conversation that we have. And I am uniquely qualified to speak to what happens when you don't have women involved, because for 8 years, I was the only woman in my caucus in the Senate. The only woman. And so for all of those years, I've been in the state Senate for 10 years, but for 8, I was the only woman in my caucus. So I was the only woman at the table who could talk about women's health, health care, children's issues. And for all of those years that I was in the Senate, when it came to dealing with issues like health care, autism, insurance, all of those issues, I was the only woman's voice. And so I can promise you, sitting here with a strong woman who is engaged in the community, understands that women, we need women to be involved. And so as we move forward, the biggest issue in my election in this 2017 Lieutenant Governor's race is health care. The single biggest issue, no matter where I go in the Commonwealth of Virginia, whether I'm in this region or Virginia Beach or Southwest Virginia, it polls as the biggest issue. It's the biggest issue for people who are trying to get a job. It's the biggest issue for job owners. It's the biggest issue for entrepreneurs. It's the biggest issue for employers. And it's because it's not affordable and it's not accessible.
Yes.
And with all the changes in healthcare, the people who've been hurt the most are physicians. That's what's extraordinary. So as we have this conversation and we seek to make changes in Virginia, and there are things that we can do right now, today, while we're waiting for the federal government to act, there are things we can do right now. And so all of that has to happen with the collaboration of women, the collaboration of women physicians, And having spent so much time in the Indian community with so many people who are in healthcare, who are doctors, who are managing big, many of them have talked to me about what the changes have meant to them and how difficult it has been for them. So I will do nothing without having the collaboration of people in the community who are healthcare practitioners and health policy experts, many in this community right here. And what's really interesting and what distinguishes me from my opponent in the lieutenant governor's race is I believe you need competition, for sure, to help change the challenges and sort of solve the problems we have in healthcare. My opponent is for government-run, single-payer healthcare. He's the only person out of all 6 candidates who are running statewide for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general. My opponent is the only one who has said he wants government-run, single-payer healthcare, which is to say no more private health insurance, would all be government-run.
Would that be awful?
Well, it would be a tragedy. And here's the thing: even if it were possible, one, no one wants it. Even Democrats don't support that. But here's the problem: we can't pay for it. It's not sustainable. As somebody who serves on the finance committee in Virginia and manages our budget, we can't pay for it. It would be 43% of an addition to our current budget. It's not sustainable. So, as somebody who's here asking, you couldn't have picked a more topical question. It is the core question of my campaign. It is defining my race.
Thank you. That answers our concerns, and we know we are very encouraged with your answer.
What about depression within the kids and women? This area of a lot of depression within the women and kids.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
It's a mental health issue.
Yeah.
And it's an access to health care issue.
Yeah.
It's a need for treatment. And you know what happens when you don't treat those mental health issues? Then people self-medicate. And then there are all the issues that flow from that. So one of the things that we've talked about a lot in the legislature, and I've been engaged in, is trying to do what we can to make sure that those people have access to health care. Have early intervention, because when you're talking about, there are various levels, obviously. There's a sort of more benign, something that's more treatable. Then there are those people who suffer from much more severe mental illness.
60% people
Desperately need.
60% people don't admit that they have any mental problem.
Right. And those are people who are ending up, because they don't get treated, they're self-medicating, they end up in jail.
Even those who admit, 40%, only half of them get any access treatment. There's no access. And only 5% people actually get treatment.
I know.
They live a lifeless life.
And it's a tragedy when they could become productive members of society. Right, and it's one of the biggest healthcare issues that we face.
Yes.
Without question. Without question.
Now
And
we
my
have kids
second-
depressed. The high school system here says that some suicide is going on the kids.
Well, and it's a question of having access to health care, having access to early intervention, so that when they're diagnosed as an adolescent, that they address it as an adolescent, that they don't go into adulthood without treatment.
Yes, he's here and he's working.
See, our women army is here.
Yes.
The woman army is here. I know women army. We're listening to the interview, but I just want to say it loud. Oh my goodness. So happy to see you. Well, we'll be with you.
Okay.
And my second question to you is,
I'm sorry,
How do you see-
we're messing up her interview. Yes, go ahead.
yeah, we need to,
Okay.
the second
Yeah,
question
good to
for
see
you
you.
from the
Yeah.
women is, women in education sector,
good.
how do you support civic education, citizenship education, financial and economic education in high school level and for children?
I'm so glad you asked, because part of what I have advocated as a state senator is trying to modernize our curriculum so that we're actually teaching what it is that young people need, so that when they graduate from high school, that they actually are able to be productive members of society and to get a job. It's all about workforce training. And what other states have done to modernize their education and their curriculum is they're actually working really hard to do that, so that when young people graduate, that they're not necessarily, every person is going to be in a 4-year college program. Not every person isn't necessarily even going to be in a 2-year community college program. So what we desperately need is more focus on our high school curriculum, and even a co-curriculum where maybe you have the option to do something at community college. But even more than that, teaching young people about citizenship, about life skills,
Yes.
about how to handle your finances, financial skills. And we've had a lot of collaboration with the private sector where we've tried to do that, but that has to be something that we focus on. And other states that have done that have done an extraordinary job. And it's, again, one of the big, major education components that has long been overlooked. And it's one of the practical skills. Teaching young people practical skills is something that we desperately need to focus on.
Yes, and what about civic education?
Well, and that's
You know,
it. So many young people have no awareness. They've actually not had any civic education. So again, it's a part of that focus on that curriculum.
Yes, thank you. I mean, that's a great answer. And what are your views on DOJ's
Yeah, yeah.
affirmative
So
action
you can do this later on.
that's being open right now and being a lot of hot discussion and debate?
Well, so I believe that everybody ought to have an equal chance. I believe that I don't believe in discrimination, period. And I have been a leader in the legislature of Virginia, and in fact have gotten a lot of attention on being an advocate against discrimination of all kinds. And everybody ought to have an opportunity to be uplifted. Everybody ought to have an equal opportunity. Yes.
And my last question is about Cotton Purdue bill. What are your views on Cotton Purdue
So-
bill
so-
and how your administration can actually focus and help?
Well, so in Virginia, we have less of an ability to influence what they do at the federal level with visas and with all of that. But I believe 100% that we need to do what we can in Virginia to actually help us have a diverse workforce, have us have the opportunity to have the skilled workers that we need in Virginia. So
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you.
we conclude that. And thank you very much for
Thank you
answering all
so
the
much
questions
for
and
having me.
concerns of
And
our women.
thank you for the
hopefully we-
leadership with women in your
Thank you.
community
Thank
and their
you. We'll
support.
do that. Thank you.
Dr. Khanna.
All right, I'll get